A little football with Rob Staten. It's all brought to you by Superior Linen Service, family owned and operated since 1926, committed to delivering the highest quality products and services to the greater Puget Sound area. All right. Chalet Bowl. Superior Linen Service is going to take care of you. 253-383-2636. And joining us right now is Mr. Rob State from SeahawksDraftBlog.com. You can check out his YouTube channel at Rob Staten Football. Follow him on Twitter at Rob Staten. All right, I'm going to ask that question. I think you heard it in the backstage. So you answered Jim Moore's question. 10 years from now, what are we saying about Cam Ward, you think?
I don't think he's going to be a 10-year starter in the NFL. There's a lot of things to like about Cam Ward. You know, he seems to have a live arm and he's creative. I just think that the things that are both make him interesting as a player are going to be the things that ultimately could prove to be his downfall, which is the relentless desire to scramble when it's not even necessary, the need to drift backwards all of the time when a crossing route's wide open across the middle. And you can get away with that in the ACC. You know, he had the second best time in the pocket amongst the draftable quarterbacks. They're playing terrible defenses every week. He's not going to get a lot of those luxuries in the next level. So I don't have the most confidence for Cam Ward. And the thing you also have to remember here, Puck, is where is he going to go? He's going to go to a bad football team picking early in the first round. So the odds are stacked against him. And I don't think he's a Jaden Daniels. I don't think he's a player of that quality. So I'm not that optimistic for him. I've got to be honest.
What about Shedeur?
I think probably something very similar. He doesn't have the big physical traits. In the study that I did on the quarterbacks, nobody sacks himself more than Shedeur does. It's incredible that his numbers are even worse than Caleb Williams the year before, because that was his thing. You know, he just created so much pressure for himself, and Shedeur Sanders blew him out of the water in terms of doing that. He had the most time in the pocket, believe it or not, of all the quarterbacks in this draft. He had 3 seconds.
Shedeur Sanders did?
Yeah. Wow. He had 3 seconds on average per play, which was way ahead of a lot of the other quarterbacks. And I found that really, really hard to believe too, because he gets sacked a lot. And then you look at the numbers, like he was responsible for so many of those sacks. So he's going to have to cut that out. So the thing for Shedeur is I've just got this feeling that he's maybe not going to go as high as some people think. And it would not be a surprise if he ended up somewhere. I'm just going to say, you know, you were talking about Matt Stafford with Jim. It's not the most unrealistic thing to imagine that he ends up with Sean McVay in LA one way or another. And if he ends up there, then he's got every chance of being a success.
Okay. So there's always been this thought the Raiders would take him.
There's a chance. I think the problem with that is that, and I've been guilty of this as well, as I think we've all kind of lent into the Tom Brady and Coach Prime connection. They're not going to draft Tom Brady. Who was saying this recently? Somebody was saying this in the media, that Tom Brady is the ultimate competitor. He is Mr. Competitive. He isn't going to take a quarterback because he's mates with Coach Prime or because there's like a little bit of a mentorship thing going on there. He's going to take Shedeur because Shedeur's worth the 6th overall pick. And I just get the feeling that the closer we get to the draft, I don't think Shedeur Sanders is going to be viewed as somebody to go 6th overall. We will see. As you've said, teams reach on quarterbacks. They do it most years. The only thing I would say is that in 2022, people were saying Malik Willis was going to go 2nd overall, and he went in the 3rd round. So sometimes you do get players who are promoted beyond what they are because people think that people will reach on quarterbacks. Every now and again, they're not. They don't go that early.
What do you think of Matt Stafford? What do you think? You like Jim's? You like Jim's idea? Trade for Matt Stafford?
Matt Stafford's going to want $50 million a year, and he's 37, and I don't think the Rams are going to gift him to the Seahawks. So I don't see that one happening. I don't even think he would probably want to come and play in Seattle in the NFC West for another team. I think he's probably got his heart set on joining his brother-in-law in New York. So I think either LA or the Giants for Matt Stafford. I think that's likely.
What did you make of the? We read it, and then we can move on to the combine stuff. We joked earlier, Jim and I, just about how many words you wrote on that combine preview, which is just massive. But what did you make of the full quote from John Schneider about Geno Smith?
I think It's pretty obvious what the Seahawks want out of this situation. I think they've had a look and have decided that the best thing to do is to extend the bridge arrangement with Geno Smith. So I think that a lot of the language that they're using is, we want you to be here, but we want you to be here on our terms. And if he wants the kind of contract that Kirk Cousins got, if Matt Stafford signs a new contract with the Rams in the next 5 days, and then Geno Smith says, I want that, the Seahawks are going to go, well, go and have a look where else you can get it then, because we ain't giving it yet. They're not going to do that. So it's been this way for a while, Puck, and we've talked about it. There is going to have to be a compromise agreement here. And the question still remains, is Geno Smith willing to go down that route? And I don't know if there's going to be a whole bunch of teams out there willing to pay him more than Seattle is. So he needs to be careful.
Yeah. I want to get right into it. And I got to ask you here real quick, the preview that you did for the Combine from a Seahawks perspective, it's just the amount of work, Rob, that you put into it is massive and impressive. And kudos to you. How many words was that?
It was 9,250.
I was close. I did say 10,000. I said 5, and I'm like, no, can't be 5,000. It's got to be more than almost 10,000 words came out a couple of days ago. The Ultimate Seahawks Combine preview of 2025. Would you like to just sit down and do a dramatic reading of it?
Well, we'll be here till the next Combine next year.
What stands out to you when you cover the Combine? We'll get to the Seahawks perspective first, but when you sit down and you watch it this week, which is ongoing, what do you look for? What catches your eye? What do you like? What do you not like about this week?
Well, first of all, I take all of the time off work to watch the Combine. And at the end of every Combine, I say, I'm not doing that next year because it's just too much. But here I am again. I've booked the days off work.
You're doing it again.
It starts at 8 p.m. my time, and it goes on for about 7 or 8 hours every day. And then by the end of it, it's exhausting. I enjoy certain aspects of it. I think the watching the 40s is fun for anybody. I do like to watch the drills. I wish that they hadn't made it a primetime event. I wish it was more for the geeks out there like myself and the teams rather than the casual viewer, because it used to start at about 9 o'clock in the morning, and that was about early afternoon for me. And then what meant is the players would do the short shuttle and the 3-cone, which is actually a very indicative test of success at certain positions. And now because it's 9, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night, the players don't do it. So you don't get those results, and it really frustrates me. There are certain things that frustrate me about the coverage of the Combine. It is catered too much now to having on in the background. And I think a lot of the analysis sometimes is, hey, that was a good rep. And they say, well, tell me why. That's why I loved Mike Mayock. Mike Mayock was my kind of draft geek. Like, he would sit there and go, you see the hand work that he needs his hands to be in that position instead, or his feet are out of line, or he's bending his waist there. And you learn so much over the course of 8 hours every day. And now I don't feel like we get that. But overall, I think the best thing about the Combine is when it finishes, Puck, interesting things are going to happen. Free agency, trades, contracts, that's around the corner now. We're getting very close to some big news in the NFL. Who do you look at? I mean, who catches your? I mean, you look at all the positions, and and you did a great job in the preview of kind of breaking down all the kind of the key positions. But there's someone. I mean, I'm going to lead you into the offensive lineman at North Dakota State here in just a quick second. Before we get to him, though, who are you kind of keenly looking at this week from a Seahawks perspective? Well, we know that the Seahawks are taking on an outside zone blocking scheme. So it makes sense to look for the offensive lineman who will fit into that. So I've done two things in the build up to the Combine, and the results are this is the main thing I'm going to be looking out for here. It is which of the really good zone blockers in the draft, a short list: Charles Grant, Wyatt Millam, Armand Membu, Jack Nelson, Logan Brown, Clay Webb, Gray Zabel, Cam Williams, Marcus Bowe, Kelvin Banks, Connor Colby. And then there's a few others like Jared Wilson, Dylan Fairchild. You could also mention Luke Kandra, you can mention as well. So how do they test? Because I actually had a look at the average speed, agility, explosive traits of the best zone blocking linemen in the NFL. And I've got the data for that. So for example, vertical jump needs to be about 30 inches. 40 needs to be 5 seconds to 5:10. Short shuttle, 450 to 455. I want to see those stats, because if you have a great zone blocking grade and then you have the physical profile that matches the best zone blockers in the NFL currently, you've got a better chance than most of being a good zone blocking offensive lineman. So it is as simple as just refining it down to that. So that's what I'm going to be looking for. And then the other thing I'm going to be looking for, I want to see these quarterbacks throw. I want to see as many of them as possible throw. I think there is some benefit to seeing an apples for apples, put them in the same situation, put them in the same building, same conditions, and let's see who's got the best arm. Because when you watched the Senior Bowl a few weeks ago, nobody really stood out with their arm. So let's see them. Let's see them test that ball downfield. Let's see if they can throw with a bit of anticipation. Let's see if they can be accurate throwing to air, because you need to be accurate throwing to air if you're going to be accurate throwing with a pass rush.
So do you think it hurts these guys when they don't throw?
I don't think it hurts them necessarily. You know, some players are just going to go very, very early and they'll do a pro day and no one will care. Like, let's put it this way. If Brett Favre was in this draft, a player of his quality, let's say, and you knew that he was going to be really good, you wouldn't need to see him throw at the combine. You know, a team who's picking first overall is just going to take the guy. So it doesn't matter. But it's the sort of the lesser, and I don't think there's a quarterback in this class who can really justify it. I suppose Cam Ward would say, well, what's the point? I've got everything to lose because I'm projected to go early anyway. Yeah. But for the others, I want to see him throw. Get out there and compete. It's a selfish thing. But I think if I was running a team, I'd say, I want to see you guys out there.
Well, and especially from a viewer, whether you're like a nerd like you or the casual viewer, the one thing that can stand out where you can evaluate a player is just kind of how they throw, right? Oh, that was a good throw, good pass. Like when you watch offensive linemen do stuff, you're like, I don't know, was that good or not? You know, even for like the casual viewer when they watch it, when you just watch a guy throw a ball, right? If he throws it into the dirt, he throws it into the dirt, and you can go, oh, that was a bad throw. So and it's fun. It's fun for TV.
Yeah, some of the drills, it's great to see a player just obviously stands out. Like last year, it was Braden Fisk, the guy who went to the LA Rams in the second round. Yeah. He just was remarkable in everything that he did. And when you see a player test as well as that and perform as well as he did in the drills, it's really hard to imagine them not being a success at the next level. So that's the other thing, is like, is there going to be somebody who performs that well at the combine? They're not that frequent. You know, Aaron Donald did it. You were like, wow, look at this guy. It's incredible. Braden Fisk did that last year. Is there going to be somebody in this group who is just such a freakish athlete that you think he's going to make it? And then can you go and draft that guy? Because often they do end up being successful.
How angry, you wrote about how angry does it make you when reporters ask what teams did you meet with?
Oh, man. Listen. If there's anybody listening to this who is a reporter for any of the teams, and I don't know if they do or not, don't ask those questions. And look, there is one or two. I know they're going to do it already. There's one or two guys who cover the Seahawks.
The dots.
Yeah, but they meet with everybody. Like they meet with everybody, and it doesn't mean anything. And do you know what is useful? It's the official 30 visits when they actually bring people into the VMAC and spend a day with them. They are often worth paying attention to because they do tend to take players from that list, and they've got a bit of interest there, or they're trying to fill in the gaps. Wow. At the combine, yeah, you're just meeting guys. Like you're not gonna show your hand for the guys you really like anyway.
You think Pete Carroll takes his shirt off again this combine? Why not?
I mean, has he got a shirt to take off? They made him flying coach. You know,
no
he doesn't.
Kidding, huh?
He doesn't.
What's with the Raiders? Look where you're going, man. You're going to a team that won't buy you a first-class ticket.
And he seems to be wearing a lot of black and grey clothes that are his own black and grey clothes. Like it's as if this, Pete, we can't afford. We've paid off too many coaches. You're still paying Josh McDaniels. Like we can't afford to get you a hoodie. So you just wear something black.
Everybody was so fixated on him being in first class and talking to McDonald and Schneider. All I was wondering is he in a middle seat in coach? That's all I wanted to know. Can you imagine that Mark Davis said, you're in the middle seat? And then I thought about, did the Raiders actually buy his ticket, or did he have to buy his ticket on his own and then have to fill out like a expense report for it? I bet
Look,
he did.
here's the thing we're not addressing here, right? If I was Pete Carroll and had Pete Carroll's money and the Raiders said, we're going to put you in coach, I'd go, it's okay. I've got this.
NetJet. Call up NetJet.
Yeah, whatever. I'm getting to Indianapolis on my own. Like I don't. He is a multi-millionaire. He doesn't need to sit and coach.
Did that surprise you? That's the first thought I had. Why are any of these guys flying, even first class isn't as nice as it once was? Why is John Schneider and Mike McDonald flying domestic airlines? Don't they can't the Seahawks organization, who's worth like billions of dollars, fly these guys out?
I mean, I don't know. First class is undoubtedly going to be very nice, but to sit in coach and to know that as you are Pete Carroll, you're one of the most recognizable faces of American sport. You are going to get probably pestered. You are going to get harassed. You are going to get talked to by everybody. You would have thought that in his world there would be a way of just, I got this. I don't need that coach ticket. You can keep that.
It was one thing I was just thinking about when watching him. All right, tell our listeners about Gray Zabel, North Dakota State. Why does he make sense for Seattle?
Well, he's a great zone blocker, and I did a little bit of a revision. I like to do this. You make your sort of initial grades and your initial thoughts on your players, and I put them in a horizontal board. There's 250 odd players on that right now, and then you have to go back and you have to reassess, because once you've watched everybody, you kind of have an idea of, okay, well, he stood out. So now I'm going to go back and watch him and just compare and contrast. And when I went back and watched Kelvin Banks Jr., there was just something missing there. Now that I know the scheme the Seahawks are running, I just thought he doesn't feel as much of a fit to me. He's got an okay, good zone blocking grade. I couldn't picture him in the zone blocking system. And then you watch Gray Zabel, and he pretty much looks like the perfect zone blocker. Combo blocks very well, reaches up to the second level so often. He's working in space on his own, isolated, getting up onto linebackers, getting onto defensive backs and latching on and just doing such a good job on that. One of the aspects of zone blocking is when you have to work across the line, you have to sway to one side, and really your job is as simple as just push somebody out of the way. It's not a very technical way of referring to it, but just go and shove somebody. Yeah. And you watch Gray Zabel, and he does that. He just masters it. Like when the player goes away from him, just shove someone out of the way. And then like the running lane opens, the back cuts back into that gap. And he was springing runs just by pushing people out of the way. He's sort of just knowledge of what to do and working in that system. And I just thought, this guy fits. This guy really, really fits what they want to do. So I think if he tests as well as the numbers I gave you earlier, I think you probably can drop down a little bit or even justify taking him at 18 to fill a need. I would prefer the Seahawks to address their offensive line need in a couple of weeks in free agency so that they don't have to go and rush to take an offensive lineman, that they can just let the draft come to them, best player available. But if they have to take somebody early, I think Gray Zabel is the best fit. I think he had a very overrated Senior Bowl. I think all of those 1v1 reps that people said he won, he pretty much lost. He was much better in the scrimmage, but his tape is fantastic. His tape looks like a high pick for the zone blocking scheme.
In your latest mock draft, I believe this is your latest one. You've got Abdul Carter, number 1 to Tennessee. You've got Mason Graham, the D tackle out of Michigan, go number 2 to Cleveland. So no quarterbacks in 1 and 2.
Well, I have a feeling that the Browns might end up kicking the can down the road and going with Kirk Cousins just because he's cheap and they need a cheap quarterback. And Kevin Stefanski and Kirk Cousins had a great 2 years in Minnesota. That wouldn't preclude them from taking a younger guy, of course, and they may still do that. And Adam Schefter was saying, I think yesterday, that he expects the Browns to take a quarterback at 2. So that's something I'd have to consider if I was doing a mock draft this week. But yeah, I just think I don't think it's a shoo-in that these quarterbacks are going to go early. Mason Graham's a very good player. And then the other thing with Travis Hunter is Coach Prime has kind of made it clear that he's going to tell you whether you're allowed to draft Travis Hunter and Shedeur Sanders. And I think the feeling was that Cleveland is a no-go area for either of those players. So it might be that they go in a different direction. And Mason Graham is just a really good player. He's probably a slightly better version of Byron Murphy coming into the league. And in a draft where you don't have much in the way of sort of sure first round talent, he's definitely one of those players.
Number 8, Kelvin Banks. We've talked about Kelvin Banks a little bit. The tackle / guard out of Texas. You got him Seahawks at number 18.
Wouldn't do that now.
Wouldn't do it now.
No, every time I write a mock draft, this is why I hate mock drafts. Every time I write a mock draft, I want to change the whole damn thing like straight away.
So you want that out? Get him out.
Yeah,
what changed your mind? Why no Kelvin Banks now?
The way I watched him play, I just don't see him as his own blocking guard. Okay. I just don't. I think he's somebody who he's probably going to have to stay at tackle. We'll see how he measures this week. He's probably going to have to stay at tackle. Maybe have to move over to right tackle. I don't think he is a great left tackle. I don't think he projects as an amazing guard. I think that my rankings for guards right now would be Tyler Booker 1. He may not be a scheme fit, but he's just so freaking good. Like he's he's got the best guard tape since Quentin Nelson, who went 6th overall. So as long as he doesn't test like a large mammal, then he'll be okay. Like he's so that's that. And then for me, it's Gray Zabel. I just think Zabel and Membu, and then Zabel. I think Membu's he's got that about him, but I don't know if they're going to be there. And that's the other thing, Puck. If you're looking, if this ends up becoming a Membu and Zabel type of situation because of the fit for the zone scheme, I want them to sign free agents so that instead of talking about these guys, we can talk about players who actually warrant the 18th pick, who are maybe different positions. And I think that's if you can fix your O-line in free agency and then just get the best talent imaginable at 18, that's the best pathway to success in 2025.
Okay. All right. What else you got working on? I mean, you don't stop. So what's the next piece that people can go and, by the way, the Zabel piece, go to Rob's YouTube channel, Rob Staten Football, because he has a kind of a breakdown on Zabel. So even more information there on him. But up at SeahawksDraftBlog.com, you've got your preview that we've just discussed of the 2025 NFL Combine. You've also got the tiers that we didn't get to about Todd McShay. But what else is coming down the pipeline next there at SeahawksDraftBlog.com?
Well, it's Combine Week, and typically what I do during Combine Week is a live blog as the thing is going on. I am going to not do that this year. I do need to sort of rein it in a little bit, and I've decided that the 8 hours of live blogging that I've done in the past, followed by a full review of everything that's happened, followed by a live stream, is going to kill me at the age of 40.
A little much, yeah.
So it's going to be an open thread when the thing's going on, so people can comment, and I will join in the comments. I will share some thoughts in that if people want to come in and join along on that. As soon as the day is finished, I will have it will give me a bit more time to get ahead of the curve on the article. So the article will have loads of data. It will have. I'll do a lot of analytics for the offensive linemen, for example, on the final day. Who are the most explosive testers? Who fit the zone blocking scheme the best? You will have all of that information. Who are the running backs that the Seahawks might be interested in? We've got quite a consistent pattern on who they look for. I'll have sort of the names of the players that we need to keep an eye on if they're going to take one a bit later on. It sounds like John Schneider is going to tap into this class because he said it was an amazing class yesterday. He doesn't usually go into details like that. Defensive linemen, we'll talk about who are the best options there, who might fit for Mike McDonald. Everything about it. The tight ends, we've got a little formula to work out who the tight ends are most likely to succeed, who are most likely to go with Seattle as well. So we'll have all of that data. That will go up in the article at the end of every day of the Combine. And then one of the guys that I stream with, Robbie Williams, he lives in Indianapolis. He's going to be at the Combine every day.
Oh, nice.
So he and I will jump on. We will do a stream. He will give us his thoughts from inside Lucas Oil Field, and I will give my thoughts from thousands of miles away, watching it on the laptop, because we don't put it on the TV here. We have everything in the NFL except the Combine. So I have to watch it on the laptop and make notes on an iPad.
I'm going to give you I'm going to give the last question to one of our audience members. Jeff is a longtime viewer and listener. What is your thermostat set to? Because you do always have a sweatshirt / jacket on. Do you keep the house cold?
No. The this is my office. So what tends to happen is when I've not been in here during the day, like sometimes I will come in and work in here and then I will put the heating on. When I don't do that, it is the coldest room in the house. So there's kind of like, I have two options when I come to speak to you, Puck. It's either to wear an extra layer or just spend the whole time doing like this. So I just put the coat on.
Love it.
And I hope that has answered the question.
It's wonderful. Great work, man. Keep it up. Follow Rob on Twitter, Rob Staten. Follow him again on YouTube, Rob Staten Football. Check out all the videos that he and Robbie will be doing. Robbie Williams, right?
Yes.
Is that who it is?
Yes.
Is there a musician, Robbie Williams, too?
There is a very famous musician over here called Robbie Williams. So whenever I tell anybody I'm doing a podcast with Robbie Williams, it kind of gets them for a little while there. But that's I don't think he's that famous in America, though, is he? He's not very well known.
Nah, I mean, he's known, but not well known for sure. Yeah. And then, of course, SeahawksDraftBlog.com. It's all brought to you by Superior Linen Service, our visits with Rob every single week. Thank you, Rob. We'll talk next week. Great work, man.
See you next week.
There he is, Rob Staten, SeahawksDraftBlog.com. Again, brought to you by Superior Linen Service, family owned and operated since 1926. Give him a call, 253-383-2636. And big sponsors of Rob Staten here all year long. And again, check out all of his work there on SeahawksDraftBlog.com. And, of course, you find his appearances on Puck Sports, on YouTube, and, of course, part of the Daily Puck Drop when we release the full show up on Apple, Spotify, wherever you find your podcasts. And, of course, you can always find everything up at pucksports.com.